All right, today we are watching a program called The Fisher Folk of Lake Patzcuaro. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The Fisher Folk of Lake Patzcuaro. The publication date is 1952, and this is by the Ralph Adams Productions. I've never heard of that production company before, the Ralph Adams Productions. All right, so I don't know where Lake Patzcuaro even is, so I know next to nothing about what we're about to learn about, which means we're definitely going to learn a lot today. So let's dive in. Okay, yep, Ralph Adam Presents, and behind this we have a Mexican flag. Interesting. All right, so we're in Mexico. That's interesting. That's kind of what I would have guessed. I thought we would have been in like Chile, South America, but Mexico works too. The Fisher Folk of Lake Patzcuaro. All right, here we go. I like this font though. This is an interesting font. This isn't like the sort of typical fonts that I like to pick up on. This is like more of a laid back font. I don't even have anything really to say about this font other than it's like, it's not a typical font, but it's also not like an attention drawing font.
As we approach the island of Janitzio, where the fisher folk live,
The Fisher Folk. All right, so we're talking about like a village of fishing people out on this lake. This is going to be fun. This would be another good examination of like people and their daily lives, hopefully.
we see a great concrete statue.
A great concrete statue. Whoa, that is that is not what I was expecting to be here. So we're in the middle of what seems like rural Mexico, and we have this amazing concrete statue. Wow.
It was erected by the Mexican government. The statue is about as high as an arm can be climbed.
Okay, so we just lost a few bits of information there from some audio clips. I don't know if you guys could tell, but we definitely lost some bits right there. So they were going to tell us like who was responsible for the statue and everything, and we kind of just lost all of that information. We did hear that this statue, at the very least, was constructed by the Mexican government. We didn't get to hear why, which is unfortunate. I'm really curious as to why they built this statue in seemingly the middle of nowhere, but maybe we'll still learn about that later anyway.
And countryside.
This is really a crazy place for these fisher folk to be living. Like this, already this statue just in the background gives this place such a strange mystique to it. Like there is so much intrigue. Like why is there this huge, I wish we heard the explanation behind this statue now. Because this is just so strange that they have this ginormous concrete statue just like overlooking these rural fisher people. That's just, I'm so curious now. Why did they build this statue? That's so weird.
Lake Patzcuaro is about
Lake Patzcuaro. All right. So I don't know if I was saying that entirely correctly. Patzcuaro. I feel like that's how I was saying it. Maybe not, but that's how you say it. Lake Patzcuaro.
250 miles west of Mexico City.
150 miles west of Mexico City. All right. So it's in like the middle of Mexico, I guess.
The lake is nearly 30 miles of islands, the largest of which
Oh man, so we lost a little bit more information. Now they're just giving us like the straight facts of how big this lake is, and we didn't actually get to hear exactly how big it is. So I guess we're missing some little audio bits here and there.
is this barren rocky island called
Yeah, we keep skipping over. This is unfortunate. I feel like there is actually a lot of information that we are losing from all these little audio flips.
Janitzio. The island fishermen live in primitive adobe buildings centuries old.
Primitive adobe buildings centuries old. See, that's funny because the buildings I'm looking at are actually like, I don't know, pretty not primitive looking, I guess, like based on my perspective anyway. These look like very advanced buildings in terms of like their architecture and like the materials used. Like these don't look like, sticks or anything. This looks like they had like mortar, concrete, all sorts of stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if these are primitive dwellings or not, but these are where the fisher folk live, I guess.
Most of the houses have only one room. They are roofed with homemade tile.
They're roofed. I like how he said roofed. They're roofed. I feel like that is another antiquated like dialect right there, is to say roofed.
As we slowly crew a boat along part of the shore of this island, as they
Okay, so now we're just creeping along the shore and we're seeing people in their daily lives just washing their clothes and whatnot. See, I feel like washing clothes is like one of the least appreciated tasks that people used to have to do. I feel like now no one in America at least ever has to wash their clothes by hand, but getting to see people actually do this like for hours and hours every day, like that really teaches you that like we we got it easy here. We got it easy with clothes washers and dryers.
wash their hair and their clothes at the water's edge. These
This
island
is really fascinating, though. This is just like a random community somewhere in rural Mexico in what was the year? 1951. So, yeah, almost immediately post-war as well. Like, this is just what life looked like for rural Mexican people during this time. This is so cool.
island people are Tarascan Indians, like their
Hang
ancestors.
on, what sort of Indians or Native American people are they? I definitely want to hear that.
These island people are Tarascan Indians,
Tarascan Indians. I've never heard of that sort of tribe or nation or whatever. That's interesting. Tarascan natives or Tarascan Indians. Interesting.
like their ancestors, they live much to themselves. They mix
Like their ancestors, they live much to themselves. It is really cool to think that these people are living virtually the same lives as like multiple generations ago. You know, that is just like, it's an interesting idea.
very little with the mainland or mountain Tarascan tribes.
Oh, hang on. So they live on an island in this lake. So they really do have very little interactions with like any of the other people. That is amazing. That's like again an island that you got isolation. I'm on board. That's for sure. This is this is already interesting to me.
Most of them still speak only the ancient Indian tongue, even though Spanish has been the official language of
See,
Mexico.
that's so cool too. They only speak their native tongue. Like that's, I don't know. This is another anthropologist's like dream right here, is to study people who have not been so thoroughly affected by the modern world. It's just this is cool. Again, this is part of the value of all these old programs is they actually got to witness people who had never encountered not only like the internet or like even radio, you know, like they are getting to see people who have never really encountered the outside world before. And I feel like in today's day and age, it's harder and harder to find large groups of people or villages that have never encountered the outside world. So this is, again, another special insight, another special glimpse into the world that people once had before, you know, modern technology, really.
Mexico for over 400 years.
For over 400 years. Oh, I guess that's how long Spanish have been in Mexico, maybe about? I don't know.
On the shore, nets are drying. The dugout canoes we see along the water's edge were each cut from the solid trunk of a tree and brought down from the mountains by manpower hundreds of years ago.
Hundreds of years ago, all of these canoes that these fisher folk are using are 100-year-old canoes made from a single tree. That's interesting. I wonder if that's really true or not. I feel like these canoes would rot a lot faster than 100 years or so. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
The Indians did not have any burros or oxen then. The Spaniards
Oh, the Indians did not have any burros or oxen then. So yeah, they're talking about how they didn't have like domesticated animals to do work for
the
them.
Spaniards, when they came, introduced the beast of burden to Mexico.
Yeah, the beasts of burden. Well, I guess in South America they had llamas, but yeah, not really so much in Mexico. That must have been crazy too for like the beasts of burdens to arrive. Like imagine like never seeing a horse before. That's just like, I don't know, terrifying really.
The dugout canoe is still the islanders' only means of transportation.
I'm still so curious about these homes. They described these as like primitive, but they actually look like really nice homes. Like they just look like more advanced than like centuries old fisher folk homes.
As we continue our cruise along the shore, we must remember that the
I really hope there's more to this program than us cruising around this island from the shore. You know, like I hope we actually get to go on the island and see stuff. It seems like we are. It seems like we have like a very long lead up to that point as well.
food of these island people is largely fish. To vary their diet, the men and boys hunt for ducks and other wildfowl.
This is so cool. We are so lucky to get to just see all of this coastline. Like this is pretty much the main street of this entire society, really. And we are getting to see like every facet of like their front-facing culture pretty much. It's cool. It's really enjoyable. I'm really glad that they spent the time to get this shot and to show us this shot in its entirety, because we are getting to see so many little different windows into people's lives.
They use a three-pronged bamboo spear, which is thrown with a primitive throwing stick called a tsipaki. The spear can be thrown...
What are all these little fences or these little like cloth pathway signifiers? I don't know exactly what they are, but it almost looks like construction fences or something. I know it's probably not that, but it's just like, what even are these? I don't know.
Thrown much farther with the throwing stick than by hand alone. They spear the ducks in flight, and if a bird falls to the water...
I like how we're just listening to how they kill ducks at this point. Like, interesting, they spear them.
Wounded but can still swim. The final catch.
Like, I feel like this is one of the things that you are supposed to show rather than tell, you know? As awful as that sounds, I honestly don't even want to see them spearing ducks or anything, but it seems like you don't describe this to people.
Capture is very difficult. The bird just dives below the surface when it sees the spear coming, and then a long chase and many...
I like how the narrator started laughing at that too. Like, I don't know, I love that little performance piece right there where he's actually laughing while he's speaking. I wonder if that was intended by the director to like, hey, laugh while you say this part. It'll tell the audience that it's supposed to be humorous. Or if the narrator actually legitimately laughed on his like first take and they left it in. I wonder which of the two it is.
Many throws are sometimes necessary.
Yeah, look at these ladies just washing clothes. Like, you know, God bless them. Like, so much more work back then than it is now. And you know what? These people probably didn't even have that much clothes to begin with either. So it's probably like some of their only clothes that they ever wear they have to watch as well.
And so we leave the island now.
Oh, now we're leaving the island. Wow, of course.
And go out on the lake and find some of these hunters.
Oh, okay, so we're going onto the lake to actually find the fishers. That should be good as well.
Watch Mishawa, a 12-year-old boy, as he spears...
Mishawa, this is a 12-year-old boy. This guy looks like 60 years old based on his outfit. But you know what? I'll trust you. 12 years old this boy is. Wow.
Spears a duck in the air.
Wow, okay, so that must be the primitive throwing stick that they have that they use for spearing ducks. That's funny because, like, I don't know, to describe a throwing stick as primitive is sort of like an oxymoron, but more like just an obvious redundant statement. Like like any form of stick that you throw to kill something, it's pretty primitive by this point. Like, we've had spears and throwing sticks for thousands of years at this point. So yeah, they're all sort of primitive. But also there's no better way. I mean, I guess there's guns and stuff, but like, if you want to do it yourself by hand, like, a spear is just about the best tool for the job. So I don't agree with labeling them as primitive because they're using spears, because those are the best tool for the jobs.
The duck is wounded. It falls to the water.
Oh, wow, look at this kid. This is a 12-year-old kid who just like has his own boat, has his own like enterprise almost, or at least that's how it seems. That's good for this kid, you know?
Dives. He waits for it to come.
I'm also curious, I don't want to say it right now, but like, this kid looks of a special like racial ethnic group. I don't know. This kid looks like more African than indigenous, but I'm going to I'm going to wait for those sorts of comments until I actually get like an up close look at them, because that's a questionable statement at this point.
The surface, and then he throws, and when he picks up his floating spear, he has another duck.
Oh, see, look, we are getting to see them hunting ducks, actually. See, I told you, I didn't even want to see this, but I felt like this is something that should be shown. So I guess I asked for it. Be careful what you wish for, guys, because I really did not want to see them killing these ducks. This reminds me of a video I made on every extinct American animal. There was one, I think it was the Atitlan crab, that grew or that lived in only one lake in Mexico. Probably not this lake. I think it was like the lake around Mexico City. But it went extinct because people overhunted them. And it's just interesting to see probably like the exact method people used to hunt that bird to extinction. And pretty much, yeah, the same exact setting, same exact style, hunting style and everything. It's not cool, I guess. It's just interesting that I got to see like this perspective of that event happening.
And is Mishawa proud?
Saying, yeah, look, he's got two ducks. See, like, that's what's so sad though, because look at this pond. I don't see any other ducks. Like, those look like the two last ducks on Lake Patzcuaro, you know? Yeah, look at this shot. Nothing else in the water whatsoever anywhere. Like that that kid really did catch the last two ducks on Lake Patzcuaro.
As we turn from Mishawal, we see a man paddling toward us.
Oh, this is a crazy little thing he's got. Is this like a net for fishing? This is wild.
We hail him and ask him if he will show us his throwing stick. Most primitive people all
They're just gonna pull up next to this guy and ask to see his throwing stick. I wonder what he's gonna show him.
over the world stopped using the throwing stick when the bow and arrow was discovered.
That's so funny how they went out of their way to tell us how primitive the throwing stick really is. I just went on this whole long diatribe about how throwing sticks shouldn't be considered just primitive, but now they're telling us that they're even more primitive than bow and arrows. Where I don't know. I don't know if I really agree with that. I feel like the spear, I guess the bow and arrow is more advanced technologically, but I don't know if it's actually functionally better than a spear, you know?
But here on this beautiful lake in Mexico, it is still used every day. We see it is about 24 inches long with
Oh, that's cool. This is like, what is this? This is their throwing stick, I guess. So they put their fingers in those holes and they, okay, interesting. I gotta watch more.
holes for 2 fingers. It has a groove with a cup at the other end into which the spear shaft fits. Suddenly a wounded bird surfaces to our left and we cry, "There he is!" The hunter swings and throws, but the bird dives. And
Well, that is interesting, actually. You know, when they said throwing stick, I was picturing a spear, but what they actually have is like an actual stick that acts as like another extension of your arm to give you like even more torque or even more force on the spear. That's more advanced than what I was even picturing. So, wow, I'm impressed.
gets away. He retrieves his floating spear and as the
Yeah, all right. So it goes back. Wow, that's an interesting tool. I've never really, I've seen tools like this before, but for a spear this long, I don't know. It's just like that's an interesting use case, I guess.
duck comes to the surface again.
And this guy looks like he's a total pro with it too. Like he's not struggling at all. He's just that guy hit a bullseye for sure. Like this guy is experienced with this sort of throwing stick.
He turns and throws, and this time he does not miss. Then he brings,
See, how are they catching all these birds just in the water, though? I can't even see any birds in the water. They're just like all under the water. Like, what?
he brings the bird slowly, carefully to the dugout. He does
Yeah,
not
this is what I didn't want to see, actually. I can't believe I asked to see this a minute ago because this is not enjoyable right now.
not want it to fall back into the water and get away.
These poor ducks, man. Like, there's no ducks. I can't even see any ducks on this lake, and yet they're finding them underwater. These these poor things, man.
He tells us it is a pato pico azul, a bluebill duck. Good eating, he says. Very good.
That is a really cool catch. It is just a shame that they caught it, you know?
As we renew our cruise upon the lake, we see a group of fishermen using the famous butterfly nets of Lake Patzcuaro.
Are these the famous butterfly nets of Lake Patzcuaro? All right. Well, I'm glad we know that these are famous butterfly nets now. Like, look at those. They are very unique. I was I was waiting to ask more about them, but I guess we'll get to see them in action right now.
They are beautiful, graceful, and used nowhere else in all the world.
Used nowhere else in all the world? Is that really true? This is the only place where this sort of fishing instrument is used. See, again, that's exactly why I love watching this sort of stuff, because like I bet these fishing nets aren't used even on this lake nowadays. You know, like this really is the preservation of one very special method of fishing. So it's so cool that we get to see and witness it. You know, I bet this method is still sort of alive, but I bet it's diminished since what we're watching it now. So this is really cool. We are getting to see something that might not even exist anymore.
The boats form in a circle and the men put down their
You know, I'm always talking about like farming techniques, and that extends into fishing as well. Like all the techniques that people use to acquire food back in the day are just all so special and different from one another that they're all worth studying. So yeah, again, it's so cool that we get to see this one special type of fishing butterfly net. It's special.
nets. Then the fishermen wave their paddles quietly and
But I am curious how they're used. Like, what is the function of the butterfly look? Like, what's, you know, like, I want to learn that part. So let's keep watching, I guess.
the water to drive the boat broadside. Thus the tiny 2-inch fish are trapped in the nets of a slowly closing circle. Here one of the islanders turns toward us to trap any of the little fish which may have been
So hang on. So this is just like an absolutely huge net. It's pretty much like a spoon, but a net.
been startled by our boat. Because the tiny fish are easily frightened, the fishermen move quietly and very slowly.
Okay, so step one, they put the net facing outward down in the water. I'm still curious how they're actually going to catch these fish.
These people and their ancestors have been fishing just like this for hundreds and hundreds of years, and probably will be doing so for many, many years to come.
Hundreds and hundreds of years, and probably will be doing so for many, many more years to come. It's funny how he didn't say hundreds of more years. He just said many more years. Like, yeah, I bet these people continued this tradition for like 40 more years or something, but I bet by like the 90s or the early 2000s, this was completely out. I bet there were new ways of fishing that had been introduced to these people that were just more efficient or just like easier or cheaper. You know, maybe these are like, you know, heirloom nets that you pass down in your family or something. But I don't know. But like whatever it is, I have trouble believing this is still how they fish this lake to this day. I would love for that to be the case. I actually want somebody to look that up. Let me know that in the comments. Somebody look it up and see if they still do this sort of fishing on this lake to this day. But okay, so we just saw how this net works. So he pretty much just dunks it in the water and then like tilts it up and catches anything that it was in front of it. So that's interesting. That's not like that advanced though. I don't know if you needed like a whole new like net setup in order to accomplish that, but that's cool nonetheless. Like let's watch more. Let's see if there are any better shots of how they actually use these.
And now they paddle quietly away to find a new spot to put their nets into the water again.
Okay, so that's interesting. We don't really get a good sense of how they use those nets, but I guess they just stick them down and then they just tilt them up, and whatever got in front of their net is caught. So that's interesting. That's like, I would have expected it to be a little bit more involved or a little bit more complicated than that, just because they are such special or unique forms of a net. But you know what? If it works, it works.
And now our boat approaches a group of 7 fishermen working with a huge drag net.
Oh yeah, see, this is what I was thinking. Like, I'm pretty sure nets like this have probably completely replaced the unique butterfly nets that they used during this time. You know, like, if I had to imagine, this is how these people are fishing these waters nowadays, is with these huge nets, which is interesting that already they were starting to use new technology by this time. They were already starting to give up part of their unique cultural traditions for a more modernized, more effective method, which is interesting. It's interesting how that's always what people do. People are always so willing to get rid of their customs and traditions for new technologies, so long as they're more effective. And it's funny to see even the fisher folk of Lake Patzcuaro adapting to the modern world by buying huge nets like this rather than their, you know, custom traditional butterfly nets.
It's a big net, takes a long time to make, needs constant repair, requires a large crew, and many families must share in its ownership.
That is interesting what they just said, though, that these big nets require cooperation, whereas the smaller butterfly nets, those are more like of an individual thing. So, and that's interesting because that kind of like changes the entire culture, doesn't it? Like if everyone relies solely on themselves to catch their own fish using their butterfly nets, that creates a different society than one where everyone needs to work together to catch all the fish in one big net and then share it amongst them. That's really like capitalism versus communism, sort of. Not perfectly, but you know, sort of. Like there is a collective resource and there are like individualist resources. So it's just, that's interesting. I wonder if these sorts of nets have caused change in the fisher folks like culture or traditions. I'm sure they have. That's cool. That's cool that we're seeing it right before our eyes.
Requires a large crew, and many families must share in its ownership. Nearly all fishing on Lake Patzcuaro is done with this kind of a net.
All right, so we're already witnessing the erasure of the fisher folks' traditional fish net methods for a more modern net technique, which is interesting. I guess we're in the middle of history right now. We're not at the beginning or the end. We're getting to witness a cultural exchange taking place right before our eyes. That's cool.
With it, the largest fish are caught and the largest catches are made.
I wonder if this lake is still doing well. Like, can you even still fish this lake? It seems like these people are on a path to completely overfish it. So, you know what? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Somebody do the research on that. Can you still fish on Lake Patzcuaro?
The net is about 15 feet wide and has floats at the top and weights at the bottom. This makes it hang straight up and down in the water. When the net is pulled in, it brings to the boat all the fish.
Dude, I am waiting to see like an up close shot of these people. I just want to know what they like really look like, you know? I don't know if that's weird to say, but like I'm curious about them, you know? I want to see them. But they all have these signature hats that don't let me see their faces at all. So but this whole time I've been waiting to see their faces.
Which were surrounded when the great circle was laid out early in the morning. They shake the net to remove the water and the lake bottom mud. Later, all the families of the men will gather on the shore of Janitzio to wash the net and hang it up to dry.
That's interesting. So the big net definitely requires a lot more cooperation between people. So that really is interesting. That is, like I said, that's an anthropologist's like dream right here. Is just to get to observe like them using a new technology. Like even one big net instead of 100 small nets. Like how does that change the culture of an entire people? Like that's such an interesting question.
It will be shared by 7 men and their families. The fish will be used for food and as a product to be sold or traded in the market. It is early the next morning now, Friday, market.
Traded in the market. I wonder like how far the market is. Like is the market on their island or do they have to like haul all these fish like 50 miles through like mountains to sell at some random market or maybe at the Mexico City market even? Like I wonder what the task of getting to market looks like in this place.
It is early the next morning now, Friday, market day in the city of Patzcuaro.
All right, they said it's market day in the city of Patzcuaro. So it seems like they don't have to go that far in order to sell their products. That's good. So they might even have a city right nearby. I hope we get to see the market. That would be cool.
And we are down at the landing to see our island people come to market. And far off in the distance we can see the island of Janitzio and the tiny white speck, which is a statue of Morelos.
All right, hang on. So that in the distance is the island of the fisher folk. And now we are watching the fisher folk come from this island and arriving at the city of Patzcuaro to sell their goods at the market. That's interesting. So we're seeing the island that they live on in the background. And you can barely see it. It's really just a pixel or two. But you can see that like ginormous statue on the island. I'm still so curious about that statue. That's just, it makes no sense being there really, to me at least. Like why would there be this huge concrete statue just in the middle of this random island in Mexico? I don't know. That's not even what we're talking about right now. But you can see it. You can still see it from this distance away. That's just confirmation of how big it is. It really is a landmark.
Dressed in their Sunday best, market day is a happy day for the island.
Dressed in their Sunday best. See, this is also what I like. Getting to see what their like fancy attire is or what their like nice clothes are. Like I love getting to see what these people dress themselves in to appear, market worthy.
Islanders, especially for the...
And look at them. They're wearing these like pink blouses, or at least these ladies are wearing these like frilly pink blouses. That's funny. That's funny how that's their Sunday best. I guess that is, you know what? They are wearing like dainty clothes to sell their products at a market. That's like, I guess that's number one in marketing for you. Look at this island in the background. Like, look how big this statue is in context of the entire island. Like, it's almost like half the height of this island in general. Like, that's crazy. Like, I'm so curious about this statue still.
And get away from their workaday chores. They cannot come to market every Friday. Sometimes it is several weeks between their visits. So the women particularly look forward to market day.
I think that's funny. I really do hope that's true. That like you don't get to go to market every week, so when you do, all the women get like really excited to go to market. I do like that. Like I don't know, they enjoy their lives at least. Like if they are under such like strict like gender guidelines like that, at least they're having a good time.
After their fish are sold, they can shop for vegetables and other things they want, and they can gossip too with friends from other islands.
That's so interesting to think about. Like, do these people have friends from other islands? I don't know what this lake looks like, if there's just like one island or like a whole bunch of islands, but like That sounds really interesting. That there's just like a whole community of island people on like different shorelines of this one lake. That's just, I really need to see a map of this place to fully understand it now. Yeah, we just got like another like 20 seconds of just pure silence as we watched them park their canoe, which I enjoyed. It's just, it's funny that they didn't have any commentary or anything to put above this footage. Like, we really did just watch them in silence for the past 20 seconds. What are they trying to sell? What do they have on this boat? Are these mats? Are they making like reed mats to sell? You know, that's a useful product, I guess. Or like, are these carrying like loads of fish? Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
And so they unload the things they have brought to market.
Dude, this is so cool. We're just getting to see like traditional Mexican living. Like, this is like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's so cool to get to see these people's daily lives from back then. Like, it really is so fascinating. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's so cool. I'm always so overwhelmed by how cool it is that we're looking at a valley of Mexico from 1950, and this is what it looks like. You know, like, we're getting to see people living their lives so long ago. It's so cool.
A bag of fish and mats woven from water reeds.
Okay, so they have the fish in that bag, but they also were selling those mats, and those were made from water reeds. That's cool. So they have like at least two different products. That's cool.
Also from this barren island where growing anything is a difficult task, we see an old woman with an armful of lilies. Not for sale, she tells us, but for a friend.
That's really interesting. I love how these people have like their own lives, you know? Like, I know that sounds dumb to say, but like, they do. They all have like their own friends, their own like social arrangements. They're such average people just living in a different place in a different time from us, you know? Like, that's what's so beautiful about this. Just like the humanity, right? Like, the fact that people are the same everywhere. Like, you bring flowers for your friend when you're excited to see them for the first time in a while. So does this lady, you know? Like, that's so nice. I'm glad that happens.
Here we see a woman with the typical Tarascan skirt. It is just a long strip of woven blue cloth gathered loosely at the waist and held in place with a twisted scarf.
Tarascan skirt. So this is like traditional Tarascan garb, which is again interesting. I'm not too familiar with the Tarascan people, but like, I have to imagine this is not their original garb, right? Like, before Europeans arrived, I can guarantee you that they did not dress like this. So it's interesting to see how they've forged like a new blended or fusion culture between the Mexicans and their, you know, native origins. It's interesting. It's interesting that they dress like this, but are still kind of considered like indigenous people.
And so they get ready for the long uphill walk to the market square. They have no burros, so they will carry everything on their backs.
They have no burros. Burros, right? That's what he's trying to say. They have no like asses or donkeys or anything. Like, they don't have any pack animals to carry their stuff. That's funny how he said burro, like an English word. I don't know. I think that's funny. It's only because I like sort of understand Spanish that I even know what he was saying. But a burro.
And here we see the dugouts, empty now, as we too.
These are actually pretty sick. Like, the fact that they are made from one tree, like, that's how you do it. I do appreciate getting to see their boats. Because these really are like the most important things in their livelihoods, really, right? Like, their boats are how they obtain all their food and, you know, whatever money they have. It's also how they get anywhere they need to go. So these are like their most important objects, really. So it's cool to get to see what they look like.
In the busy marketplace along the walks, neatly stacked on woven.
All right, what are they selling? What are they selling at this market? It looks like tomatoes. Can't see much else, but tomatoes, I guess that checks out.
Are the vegetables brought by the mainland people. They are Tarascan Indians too, but people whose way of life has always been as tillers of the soil.
That's interesting. So the Tarascans had farming people and fishing people. So that must have been like a bigger culture within this area. It couldn't have just been like one village of like one tribe of people. But it is like a bigger people group than just like this one island people. That's good to know.
They bring to the market vegetables and other things that the fisher folk need.
So another thing that's interesting about this, I guess, is that like these mainland folk farm and make all their products in order to supply the fisher folk. So that's like, I don't know, like this old lady leaves her house like once a month to go sell products to the fisher folk from her like mainland farm. That's interesting, you know, like that is a relationship between peoples. I feel like if I were an anthropologist, I'd be able to make more out of that than I can right now.
And our island Indians with their fish? Yes, they are here too, with no method of weighing, no wrapping paper, no shopping bags. The buying is as simple as this: how much for what my hand can hold? And when the bargaining is completed, the buyer patiently waits until his hand is filled.
That's very interesting. I guess that is like the old method of bartering, right? Like you wouldn't have units or anything to go off of. So it really is just like this for that. It's cool. It's cool to get to see like an actual economic system of bartering in place like this. I feel like if you went to this area now, you wouldn't have this. You would maybe have cash. You wouldn't have cards or anything, but like I don't know if you'd have bartering in the same way. Maybe it's still exactly the same. It feels like this sort of world, it doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, look at them. They're just serving these fish, like no refrigeration, nothing. Just like hand by hand. That's funny. I mean, I guess like whatever, you know. He is just gonna carry around a handful of fish through this market though. I think that's funny. Like even the fact that they don't have like disposable bags for everyone to use. So you just have to carry fish by your hand. I don't know. Like that is an interesting glimpse into like the world of grocery shopping before grocery stores, I guess. Like, you have to imagine most of humanity did their shopping like this, right? For thousands of years, you had marketplaces where you would barter for food and carry stuff away in your hands, you know? Like, this is the regular way that humans have acquired their goods for, like, most of history. So it's interesting that we get to see it.
How these island women love to bargain. It's half the fun of market day, giving a slightly
Again, another little chuckle from our narrator. It's just, it's funny what he chuckles at, too.
larger fish only after much protest, asking more than they hope to receive, getting all they can.
You know, I do also like that, like, people will always haggle with you, you know? Like, this one, like, downtrodden village woman is still willing to barter over this, or still willing to haggle over one, one fish. Not even like a handful, just one fish.
Giving as little as possible, driving a sharp bargain, something to brag about, something to talk about on the long way home.
Yeah, like another just 10-second uninterrupted shot of these women just like haggling with one another. Good shots. I still appreciate the shots nonetheless. It's funny when nothing is happening besides the shot that we're watching.
And now, far around the lake, we are looking down on the landing at the little village of Eron Gariguaro.
Gariguaro, is that the village that we're looking at? Gariguaro. Are there any Mexican viewers who are familiar with this area? Please let me know if you are. Like, I have so many questions for you. I can't imagine I do have any viewers from this area, but if I do, guys, please please make yourselves known.
To this primitive place on another market day come the island women with their fish. Here, too, come the mountain men, down the long, weary...
Dude, I love seeing just the traditional mountain men carrying, like, what looks like 10 human weights worth of produce on his back. You know, I love these views of this place, you know? It's so good to see every little detail, man.
Footpaths from deep in the mountains, carrying on their backs and on the backs of their burros the huge loads of wood the island people need for their cooking.
I didn't think about that either, but yeah, they probably do need tons of wood. Like they probably have completely deforested their island to the point where they need to buy more fuel for the rest of their time there.
After centuries of woodcutting, there are no trees left on the flatlands near the lake.
Yeah, that's just what I said. That's crazy. The entire lake shore has been deforested by all these people, which is another important thing to remember is that like even though these people are like indigenous and like more primitive, like they still have the same exact effects on the landscape as like the most modern of humans, which again, like these people are modern humans. It's like don't ever expect humans to do anything except destroy the environment no matter where they are. Even if they're the fisher folk of Lake Patzcuaro, they still are going to clear the forests.
Now, only in the mountains, many long miles away, are trees to be found.
That's honestly really sad, but I guess to be expected. I guess that's a good glimpse into like the rapidly industrializing world of Mexico during this time. Like people definitely in America, people forget like Mexico went through all the same stages that America went through. Like this industrialized like resource extraction period, Mexico experienced that as well. And they also lost a lot of their natural environment through, people like this. People literally just cutting down trees to sell to fisher folk. But man, I do love their hats. It's such a good look. Like the fact that everyone looks like they're from the same culture back then. Like, oh, it is such an impressive like fashion statement that this entire society has made. It's a good look is all I'm trying to say. I want one of these hats. I gotta go to Lake Patzcuaro now. I always say that, but like I definitely want one of these hats. I wonder if these would be called sombreros by these people. Probably, right? These are their sombreros. I don't know. I'm pretty sure sombrero just means hat. So, like, yeah, these are their sombreros. But these are like these are more sombrero than some other sombreros, I guess.
Here, as in the days of long ago, no money is used.
Just as the days of long ago, no money is used. See, that's so crazy that there were parts of Mexico where like currency didn't even exist in the 50s. Like that I think did not exist in America, or at least not in the same way. Like there was always dollars in America. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just making that up, but it just Mexico does feel like a very different place than America, especially during the 50s. I think that probably was when America and Mexico were the most different from one another. When America was like in this stage of like rapid new industrial advancements, while Mexico was still stuck in this kind of like, I don't know, subsistence farming sort of world.
Fish is traded for wood, and wood is traded for fish. This is one of the few spots in all the Americas where the custom of barter still exists today.
See, even they're saying it. This is one of the last places where the barter system is still in place. I'm glad I picked up on that because, yeah, you definitely would not have markets like this in the US during this time at least. But I do love that really it would just be some women carrying like one bundle of random sticks to the market to sell, and all she needs is like a handful of fish to eat that night. Like I do like that kind of, I don't know, barter system reliance. Like you don't really need much to get much, and like you can just get more sticks from the forest that you come from. Like I don't know, there is something to be said about the simple life of bartering for like simple goods. I'm being appealed to right now by watching this. Like imagine all you had to do every day was cut down one tree and bring it to market to sell, and sell it. And you would get food, and that would be the food that you ate that night because you don't have a refrigerator or anything. Like you can't even store food, so you have to work cutting down trees every day so that you can buy food every day. It sounds a lot harder, but a lot more satisfying at the same time. Oh, look at this dog. See, I also love seeing the dogs, right? Because sometimes they had like interesting native dog breeds or something. This looks like a regular dog, though. Oh, you know what? I guess if the donkeys are burros, I guess that makes that a perro. That's what that is. Not a perro, a perro.
Here is a woman who feels she has made a good trade.
Yeah, Dan, look at her smile. Yeah, I don't know what trade. See, I wish I knew like the trades that they were making. Like I want to know the economics of like gamifying the Lake Patzcuaro marketplace, you know? Because I bet you could. I bet you could make good trades with all these people and leave the market like richer than you came in. I wish we could see how they just gamed one another at least. Like I want to know how fair these trades really are. I want to know how good of business people the fisher folk of Lake Patzcuaro truly are. You know, I want to put their business acumen to the test by seeing if I can game them or not. Because the barter system really does invite like gamifying, right? Like if you can trade like one fish for two pieces of wood, you will, and then you'll trade two pieces of wood for two fish, and then you'll trade those two fish for three pieces of wood, or whatever it is, you know, whatever the marketplace is selling. I guarantee you beads are being sold somewhere in this market, and I bet those are like more of the currency. But I'm so curious about like what everyone's unique exchange rates are because everyone is just trading for themselves. So no one has like a set rate of exchange in their minds. So you really can game this sort of system. I'm so curious if people did do that back then. I guess it might be harder to game these people though, because literally everyone relies for their livelihood on these trades. So maybe it would be hard to like convince people to make a bad deal for themselves because their literal livelihoods are at stake with every trade they make on this marketplace. I wonder if it's easy or hard to get a good deal here. Look, even the little baby has a hat on. That's so I love I love that we got to see even the baby fashion, you know, like the baby is still looking good, you know, he's still wearing the hats. Oh, I love seeing this sort of stuff.
Of course, our island people have all the best of it. The women bring up from the boats only a few fish at a time. This makes the mountain men think there are not many fish.
See, I like that. That's exactly what I wanted to know. It's like, how are these people gaming each other? So these ladies are getting better prices for their fish by making it seem like they don't have as many. That's so funny. I love that. I love that a lot.
If the women have any fish left, they can just put them in their boats and take them home again. But the mountain men, to save hauling their wood all the way back to the mountains, must make the best bargain.
See, that's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, what is the exchange rate between wood and fish? You know, later in the day when the mountain men don't want to carry their stacks of wood back to their village with them, like you get a lower rate for their wood then. You know, that's so interesting. That is like there's trade dynamics taking place here. I guarantee you there is like a super wealthy fisher folk of Lake Patzcuaro who all they do is trade goods at the market. Or at least that's what I would be doing. I would just be like, oh, I'll take all your wood later in the day, and then the next day I'd be selling their wood first thing in the morning, you know? It's just, oh, that's so interesting. And I love how they were talking about like the men bringing their logs back to the camp, but all we see are like these old women carrying like a one human body weight's worth of logs. Like, good for these ladies for bringing this wood all the way from the mountains, but I also understand why they don't want to lug it back, you know? But I guess that's an advantage of being a fisher folk, right? It's not really that much more work to carry your fish in your canoe, right? So like you have no reason to lower your price as the day goes on, but the woodcutters do. That's interesting. Dang, again, another like 10-second shot of just nothing happening, no sound or anything. We just watched this woman trying to pick up her bundle of sticks.
And now these kindly, gentle people
Oh, and of course she gets it up right when the donkey moves in front of the camera, so we don't even get to see her. Wow. Stupid burro.
are going to their boats. They are starting for their homes on the island of Janitzio, and we must bid them farewell.
The island of Himitzio. I gotta look this place up.
And so we say in the language of Mexico, Adios, isleños del lago Patzcuaro.
Adios, isleños de... Oh, that's interesting. So, goodbye, islanders. That's funny. That is... I gotta listen to that again.
So we say in the language of Mexico.
In the language of Mexico, not in Spanish, but in the language of Mexico. That's a funny way of stating that.
Adios, isleños del lago Patzcuaro.
Adios, isleños de Lago Patzcuaro. So we're saying goodbye, islanders of Lake Patzcuaro. That's funny.
Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista. You know, I've never heard that one term in Spanish, though. This isleños, I like that a lot. The isleños, that's island dwellers. That's a good name. That's another good vocab word. I guess it's Spanish, so it's not that useful for me, but isleños, I like that a lot.
Isleños del lago Patzcuaro. Hasta la vista. Goodbye, islanders of Lake Patzcuaro. Seeing you again.
Just one last audio clip before we're out of here, too. I love that. All right, there it is. That's the end. A Ralph Adams production. I wonder if that was Ralph Adams we were listening to. Maybe, maybe not, though. Maybe it was just a production company thing. But that's interesting. That was actually very enjoyable. I feel like we did get to see a whole lot of interesting stuff, but I'm still a little, I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but I'm still a little curious. That's really what I am. I'm not disappointed. I want to learn even more about these people now, you know? Like, I want to see their village. We never even got to go, like, on their island and actually see inside of their homes or anything, you know? Like, we got to see them fishing, doing their, like, actual work, and then we got to see them selling their fish at market. So we saw, like, the economic side of the fisher folks' lives, but we didn't actually get to see like the social side of their lives, if that makes any sense. Like we didn't get to see them interacting with one another. We didn't get to see like mother and father like raising kids or how they do that or anything. So there's definitely more we have to learn about the fisher folk of Lake Patzcuaro. But this was a good intro for sure. I'm definitely glad we watched this because we got to see, well, one, we got to see a lot of unique fishing methods, I guess. But we also just got to learn about like this people's culture that had presumably been here for, you know, hundreds of years. I'm still so curious about that statue though. That's gonna torture me. I guess I could just look that up. I will. Once I'm done recording this, I'm gonna look up that statue. But I'm so curious about all of it. And I feel like, yeah, that's my main not my problem with this program, but my main like issue is that this created so much curiosity in me and it just did not satisfy at all. I'm more curious about the people of Lake Patzcuaro than this had information to satisfy me with. So, you know, I could watch another one of these, really, if I had one. I don't think I do, but there's definitely more to learn about these people for sure. But this definitely was a great insight, not only into the fisher folk of Lake Patzcuaro, but just into, like, middle Mexico during this period, right? Getting to see what rural Mexico in the 50s looked like is just pretty eye-opening. I feel like not a lot of us really understand the history of Mexico. Even though here in America we're neighbors, I feel like we don't actually understand what Mexico was like during this time. So I feel like getting to watch this stuff, we get a better understanding of what consists of Mexico's like cultural base, if that makes any sense. So I feel like we learned a lot about Mexican history and society by watching this, which is good. I don't know if I have anything else interesting to say. So I'll just say this, if you enjoyed watching and would like to help support what I do here, you can follow the link in the description that'll take you over to the Internet Archive. The Internet Archive is where I get all these old programs from. So if you want to support me, donate to them. And with that, we're ready to cut to black.